The following featured presentation is part of the Skywalking Network.
This is what you can look forward to on episode 543 of Skywalking Through Neverland. Then the third line item was John Williams' score in Galaxy's Edge, and that is when I jumped off the couch.
They're just going to say, you're in Star Wars, so have fun.
And we experience Star Wars as viewers, not as participants. Right. So, of course, the characters don't hear John Williams' music.
Oh, there's no way that would ever happen. No way. Way too many repercussions there.
It's been past time for Star Wars to be able to move on, and I think we have the vision now.
Are you ready?
Off to Neverland.
Here we go.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
When I first made Star Wars, everybody in Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
You're more than just fans. You're family.
Best day ever!
Secrets love. It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Hey.
You use a bird to write with, it's called tweeting.
When we visit the world of Disney, we never grow old. It's a Peter Pan, Never land that keeps us young in heart.
This is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you are skywalking through Neverland. I have a good feeling about this.
Hey, Skywalkers! Usually we don't delve into news just to keep our shows evergreen, but holy purrgil! There are big changes coming to the Star Wars universe. Lots of changes we want to unpack.
Tricia Barr and BJ Priester come by to discuss the evolution of Galaxy's Edge and the Lucasfilm management restructuring. So many things.
Oh, yeah. But for right now, we want to welcome you back to Skywalking Through Neverland. I am Richard Woloski, but now everyone please say hello to my sweetie wife, Sarah. Right now, we are the Hoth Twinsies. We are the Hoth Wonder Twins.
Oh.
Form of a Wampa. Form of a Tauntaun.
Form of a Tauntaun. And the Oneater twins? Oneater twins? Whenever you say wonder, I think Oneater.
The Oneaters. That's the wonders.
Yeah.
I get it now.
Yes.
That was very high concept and very funny. And I'm going to give you one of these.
Now, Skywalkers, if you haven't already, please subscribe to Skywalking Through Neverland on YouTube and watch the YouTube version of this show to see all the clips and additions that we put in the video version. Now, we are your enthusiastic podcast destination for the many decades of your Star Wars, Disney, Marvel, and pop culture fandom. So imagine a big wiki hug from us and a little sprinkle of pixie dust for our family of Skywalkers.
All right, we are being sponsored by Small World Vacations, and they are a diamond-level Disney vacation planner travel agency and can help you book your trip to a Disney park around the world, a Disney cruise, or to one of the Universal theme parks. And best of all, their service is free of charge. So head over there to smallworldvacations.com for a no-obligation price quote, and tell them Skywalking Through Neverland sent you, and give them a rabble. a tauntaun, rabble. Rabble.
I love it.
Rabble.
Are you done?
No. Now I'm done.
Pat.
Thank you.
Now, Spirit Jersey has their own Star Wars and Disney license you can buy outside the parks. In fact, I am wearing one of them right now. Little Mandalorian Spirit Jersey. I love it. You can head to spiritjersey.com and you can get free shipping anytime with the code SKYWalkNeverland, which is SKYWLKNVD.
All right, now, big congratulations to Julie Gildersleeve, who won week 3 of our new TikTok trivia. And she dominated in the category of Star Wars parody. So every Sunday we will play trivia on TikTok, and every week we will have a brand new category. this coming week, Sarah, what are we going to do?
Ooh, we're going to do Disney Dog Trivia because that is on January 25th at 6 p.m. Pacific. And January 25th happens to be the 64th anniversary of 101 Dalmatians. So that's why we're doing Disney Dogs. So come to play and come to win prizes.
All right, now we are recording this from Long Beach, California on January the 20th, 2026. Now, in the last episode, we started a countdown to Mandalorian and Grogu. So as of today, there are 123 more days until May 22nd. The release of Mandalorian and Grogu. You're right, 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
That's good luck.
Yeah. Now, Skywalkers, we are working with liningup.net to organize the fan party leading up to the film, and we will be raising money for the Starlight Children's Foundation. More details to come.
All right, now, since we have a very, very in-depth discussion with Tricia Barr and BJ Priester coming up about the evolution of Galaxy's Edge and the management turnover at Lucasfilm from Kathleen Kennedy to Dave Filoni, we're going to get right into it. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. Hang on to something.
This outpost is in danger from the First Order. Thank you for joining the cause, and may the Force be with us.
Last week, Disneyland gave us the news we've been looking forward to for 6 years. Star Wars Legacy is coming to Galaxy's Edge. Not only will there be original trilogy characters, but John Williams' iconic score will be heard throughout the land.
Immediately, we reached out to our friends Tricia Barr and BJ Priester, who are now here with us to break down this exciting news from Disney Parks Blog and StarWars.com. There is so much to unpack here, so let's get started.
Hey, Tricia and BJ!
I don't think we can be that coordinated.
No, I don't think so.
We've worked 13 years to become that coordinated.
All right, well, let's start with the bantha in the room, because the press release was careful to say Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland for all of this news. So do you think this is like a testing ground before these new additions are included at Hollywood Studios? Tricia.
I think they're going to do something at Hollywood Studios. I don't know that they're going to do the same thing. So, yeah, and I hope they don't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you want it different. All right, what about you, BJ?
I assume they're going to change Hollywood Studios eventually because, as we're going to talk about, the reasons they're making this change, you know, in terms of like the fan interest in the legacy characters and things like that, there's no reason to think that wouldn't be true in Florida too. But Florida's always been interesting because when it first opened, they were already working on the Galactic Star Cruiser experience, and we didn't know about it yet. And then when they opened that, they were like really careful to try to keep the timeline of Galaxy's Edge in Batuu East locked into that episode 8 to 9 timeframe, so the story of the Star Cruiser would work for the Star Cruiser people. And now that is, of course, closed, so they don't have that reason. But you know, all the way through, Batuu East and Batuu West have been a little bit different. Like, you guys get special seasonal menu items that we don't get, and you've had more wandering characters that we don't get. So it doesn't surprise me that they're not syncing it up immediately. Because I was looking at it, getting ready to record. They did announce from the very first time that Batuu East and Batuu West are both getting the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run upgrade on the same day, May 22nd, with the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, right? So that they're putting in Disney World right away. First thing, but not this character change, music change, other stuff, right? So again, right. Like, they felt it was important to do the ride, but not the rest of the land. So there's obviously some method to the madness that we don't see yet.
I'm going to guess this method to the madness is that there's, hold on to something, sit down while I say this, there might be some backlash to this new Galaxy's Edge edition. Oh. And they may wait to see what that backlash is and fix it for Hollywood Studios?
Huh. That's an interesting. See, I'm looking at it in that if it's not broke, don't fix it. So if you think about it, Galaxy's Edge here at Disneyland, you know, this is a locals park. Like 50% at least of our locals that come back, they go to Galaxy's Edge practically every day, every week. Like we see the same people posting, and we're a part of that as well. And so like change here is good. Like you mentioned, BJ, there's seasonal menu items. Things change all the time. There's Season of the Force, and that's to cater to the locals. Whereas Walt Disney World is very much a tourist park. And it's geared toward those tourists or once in a lifetime trip guests, where they're just happy to be like, oh, I can build a droid. Awesome. They don't care what kind of droid it is. They haven't ever built a droid before. But here, we've built all the droids. So give us new droids.
That's another good way of looking at it. Yeah.
And you guys are kind of primed out there with the Avengers campus to see different things come in to, and not worry so much about the continuity, because nothing's making sense in Avengers Campus if you think
Iron
too
Man
hard
is
about
walking
it, right?
around.
So
yeah.
it doesn't really matter if, you know, Batuu doesn't make sense either if you just kind of do the logic that way at that park. I also think there's a possibility that they may want to do some parks in one era and some park in another, and that's testing out. So they're not necessarily saying we're dumping everything into, you know, Luke, Han, and Leia for one. Potentially we could see some prequel trilogy pop up. I mean, I think they have room to test. We also, I think, have more availability here on the Florida side to do like a restaurant, the dinner show. They could still take out of the Star Cruiser and put that in. And so maybe they want to stay in that era. I don't know. I think they're just trying something out as they move forward.
Okay.
And on the ride, I think they might be worried that running two different versions of the same ride at the same time could be really difficult for like IT and logistics and cast members. Like if they're going to have Smuggler's Run, just have it be the same, right? Whereas the walk around cast members, I've said this to you guys before, there's a lot more unemployed actors in Los Angeles who are happy to work on an hourly basis for the Disney parks performing as a Star Wars character. And that's something we don't have in Orlando. Like you said, it's much more a tourist-friendly park. It's also not an entertainment industry city. So it's a bigger commitment, I think, you know, in Orlando. If you're going to cast Han Solo, you need to hire someone who's going to, you know, be willing to be Han Solo every day for the indefinite future, or swap out with, you know, a couple people or whatever. I mean, that was what they did with the Star Cruiser. They had a cast of people in the Star Cruiser, and it was that same cast. And they were working just nonstop, rotating like two casts constantly. And those people were, you know, on call 180 days a year, right? To be those performers. And it's very different in LA, you know, with the accessibility of cast members. So there's logistics that have to work through in Florida that they don't have to worry about in LA.
Yeah, I think each one of us brings something different to the reasoning, and I think it all makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
It all makes sense.
It really
now,
does.
when Disney bought Lucasfilm back in 2012, and Sarah and I were at Spirit Halloween store, she screamed throughout the whole store, "Rich, get over here, the new news!"
Look at this tweet.
And it was this same thing that happened a couple of days ago when this was announced. I was in the office here, and I think she was in 2 cities over. "Rich, guess what?" She's screaming from the heavens, "Rich!" This was it was expected, but yet it was shocking coming right now. So when the news did hit, what did each of you think of the news?
I think my first reaction was very much like yours, which was, I'm not surprised they did it. Like it felt inevitable that they were going to have to move away from an exclusive sequel trilogy era in that park. But I just, you know, there had been no hinting about it, right? Sometimes we get sort of implications that things are coming, right? Or hints. And I mean, I don't go to D23, but I read everybody's coverage, and I didn't get the impression coming out of D23 that everyone's like, oh, you know, they're doing something at Galaxy's Edge. We just don't know what it is yet or whatever, right? Like it wasn't, you know, it's like, oh, it's got to be coming soon. It does make sense they announced it, you know, 3 months ahead of when it's going to happen, so that if the people want to see the current version, they've got 3.5 months to go experience it. You're not springing it on people. But yeah, it did feel very out of the blue. I mean, I remember the day I was leaving work when the Lucasfilm sale dropped. It's sort of the end of the day Eastern time, and I was getting in the car to drive home from work, and I'm sitting, you know, getting in the car, just trying to, like, what the hell is happening? You know? So it kind of did feel like a bolt out of the blue in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that they didn't announce it for May the 4th, but they announced it for April 29th. And doesn't Star Wars Night at Disneyland, doesn't that start that week?
Okay.
So this is a good testing ground. So
Right.
come May the 4th, everyone will be secure.
Yeah, I was gonna say it gives those
the
new
characters,
a few days
Right,
to
exactly.
like run and like figure out their pattern before
Mhm.
May 4th hits,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be
So yeah, so
inundated.
once you start lodging it out that way, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
April 29th now makes
Yeah,
sense.
makes a lot of sense. So Tricia, what about you? What was your reaction?
You know, it's really weird. I knew this had to happen eventually. And, you know, sometimes it just happens to be that like the second something gets dropped on social media, it's when you look at it, like it says posted 17 seconds ago or something like that. That's what happened.
Wow.
It was like something told me to look, and to be honest,
it was a disturbance in the force.
No, we call those midichlorians. Get used to it, everybody. The midichlorians.
Wait, they didn't talk about midichlorians. Okay, go ahead, Tricia.
Well, I remember when they announced episode 7, I was in the field working and my phone like dingled from an announcement, and I picked it up, and now I'm in a field meeting trying to be professional, you know?
Oh, forget that.
But for me, not shocking. We got the test run with Luke Skywalker last year for a season of the Force. It doesn't appear that they're going to be doing a season of the Force this year, that this is going to be the thing, unless trying to dress up the park type of thing. And that they're just going with these changes. And so I wasn't shocked. To me, I felt like that was the step that I knew that the Kathleen Kennedy announcement was imminent. That this had been a roadblock that she had held up, and that her being gone was going to be the push.
Interesting. Okay, so that led you to our second news that we're going to talk about. Well, okay, so my reaction, like Richard said, I called you, but my initial reaction was I was like, oh, there's going to be something new and different. Like, we had heard rumors that they might have been filming something in Galaxy's Edge, but then we saw the post that it was Darth Vader and stormtroopers coming out of the echelon. I was like, okay, awesome. I was excited about that, and the fact that then they said Luke, Leia, Han are going to be in there in Galaxy's Edge. I was like, great, timeline's expanding. Then the third line item was John Williams' score in Galaxy's Edge, and that is when I jumped off the couch. And I was like, Richard! And I was so excited, because ever since Season of the Force in Tomorrowland in 2015, when you'd walk underneath that Season of the Force sign, and all of a sudden you'd just be awash in Star Wars music, I just adored it. It felt like this is what I've wanted in Galaxy's Edge. And so the fact that we're getting that music there, that is like, bar none, my most favorite thing ever. It's like, yes.
Well, that was your thing walking into Galaxy's Edge for that first time.
Yes.
May 31st, 2019. It's like, I don't hear the Star Wars theme yet.
Yeah, ever since
where
it
is
opened, I'm like, this is great, but like, there's something missing. Yeah, and that's what was missing for me.
All right, now, I got to commend Disney and Lucasfilm for trying to do something different and creating a whole new immersive story for Galaxy's Edge. Fans always say they want something new, so Disney and Lucasfilm said, okay, we'll give you something new. But in reality, what do the fans want? They want the icons. That's what they want from the beginning, and that was the first stories we heard about this new Star Wars land: a speeder bike chase, roller coasters, and cantinas, and we got all excited about that. And who can blame the fans? I would have wanted that too, but lesson to be learned there, and you give fans what they want, and suddenly they don't want it anymore. And when we saw characters that didn't necessarily fit in the timeline between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, like the Mandalorian and Ahsoka, I knew that, okay, the writing's on the wall here. But then when Luke appeared, it's like, okay, enough said. This is Luke. We should have called you Spoiler Skywalker, because that's really what it was.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Well, the blog continued by saying, new storylines will be brought to life on Batuu, spanning multiple eras of the planet's rich history. These updates will enable you to experience the Galactic Civil War and New Republic, as well as the Age of the Resistance and First Order.
Well, we know that they're going to put Rey over by Rise of Resistance. as far as the other characters, I think they're just going to work at like timing. You know, certain characters will be at maybe 0 to 30, and the others will be, you know, 31 to the end of the hour type of thing. And but to be honest, most people, I don't think, realize that they're not in a correct timeline. If, say, Darth Vader is walking around when the Mandalorian and Grogu are in there, and that those things can't really line up. I honestly don't think most people care. There are some people. I mean, that was the misunderstanding, was they made a park thinking that people wanted to go to amusement park and LARP, and that segment of the fan base is very, very small and not enough to get the interest they needed in what they were trying to do. And most people just want to go and be immersed. And I think the music, most importantly, is going to really change the atmosphere and will help lend to that. And then you can do things like, say, if you want to switch out and have prequel trilogy characters coming through, and you say an Anakin and a Padme, you're going to get the prequel trilogy John Williams music. The music will tell you where you are, and then those characters will show up. That's pretty easy to time, right? Even if you switch them out like afternoon and evening type of stuff, I still think you can do it. It's just how do you rotate it out? And I wouldn't be shocked that a Rey actress ends up being a Leia a Padme, because everybody said they all look the same and they must be related anyway when they dropped Daisy Ridley. So I really think some of those actors are going to be able to do multiple roles.
Oh yeah, you go to Universal Studios and it's like, Quint, aren't you also Santa Claus? aren't you also the Grinch and Beetlejuice? So
Beetlejuice is the Grinch.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's definitely the same
friends
actor.
of the Grinch.
Yeah, oh, there you go.
Yeah, and I do hope they keep things separated enough where you don't see Rey going over and talking to Luke and Leia, because that would just kind of spoil things. But to a lot of people, they wouldn't care. They don't care. Like when we saw at Star Wars Night the Phantom Menace Padme, and there's the Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith Anakin Skywalker right there. People thought it was funny.
I didn't even clock it.
No,
no.
Yeah,
Anakin was very cute.
No one clutched their pearls and it just collapsed right where they stood, because they just didn't care.
No.
But I think on a continuous basis, I wouldn't want to see that. So I'm glad they're keeping the Resistance area with Rise of the Resistance. That's all the Resistance place. And Rey, before you could walk around everywhere, now you have 200 feet to go back and forth. Kind of like a crab in an aquarium going back and forth, back and forth.
But Chewbacca can go anywhere.
That's true.
I mean, to me, this makes sense. We've been kind of clocking as far as merchandise in the parks, and, when The Force Awakens came out, merchandise was just insane, and it's slowly been creeping back. And at this point, where they used to have 2 shops at Disney Springs dedicated to Star Wars, they're down to 1 teeny weeny little shop in a little corner of World of Disney. And where they used to have multiple shops in Hollywood Studios, they've backed down to just segments of the front where you come in the main entrance, and everything's left to, Batuu has to be in their universe, right? So you could go out of Star Tours and get Star Wars stuff, but even in Star Tours, it's really limited and kind of uninspired. They just have original trilogy stuff, a little bit of prequel trilogy stuff, and 1 or 2 things that are related to the sequel trilogy. But the original trilogy is where people are spending money. Disney studies and knows who's shopping, who's spending the money, and how to present things to get people to the things they want to buy. That's what they're good at. And their numbers are telling them that original trilogy people are the people who are spending it. It makes sense. They're going to put original trilogy merchandise in that area over by Oga's that used to be the First Order store, right? That's going to have original trilogy, and it will be dark side or light side. It doesn't matter. It'll be both.
Yeah, I love the fact that store is now owned by 2 clone troopers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after Order 66, when both of them, one went to the dark side, one went to the rebellion, and they meet in the middle to form a business.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna crash and burn.
Oh, what do you Oh, like
well, because
they're probably going to get their own comic. Come on.
like, hey, you know what? We want the top shelf for the Imperial merchandise, but no one looks at the bottom shelf. So let's put the Rebellion stuff up here, and so it's it's unless they have like a mediator or a supervisor in there to say, guys, you have this side of the store. It's like an episode of I Love Lucy. You got this side of the store. I have this side of the store. Put a tape line down the middle, and that's what you get.
Oga's gonna come in there.
Well, and isn't it that Han is supposed to get a frequent the cantina is where you're supposed to find him, and Oga's going to be moved up in the timeline to be appropriate for him.
Yeah, they say Han will go back and forth from the Millennium Falcon, but he's got an eye on the cantina because, who doesn't need a drink when it's this hot in the summertime in California?
Yeah.
All right, now, another part of the blog says, Darth Vader's search for Luke Skywalker will bring him to Batuu. The Sith Lord will be joined by Imperial stormtroopers, and as they seek the elusive Jedi, they may find hints of the Force around the outpost. So, putting it in the timeline, this has got to be between Star Wars and Empire. It can't be after Empire, because Han Solo will be walking around in a big block of carbonite.
Well, this is where I think you get back to your earlier question, Richard. The blog post says Galactic Civil War, New Republic, and Resistance,
Age
right?
of the Resistance.
Yeah.
So Darth Vader is showing up during the Galactic Civil War because otherwise he's dead.
Right.
And he's hunting for Luke, which presumably makes it post A New Hope, right? But if Han Solo, this is back to your point, if Han Solo's not walking around while Darth Vader's walking around, then it can be post Empire, right? Because Darth Vader's not going to interact with Han Solo. And Han Solo and Leia may very well be appearing like Luke and Mando and Grogu and Ahsoka in the New Republic timeline. Because they're probably going to use the Luke, right? The Luke they already have is the Mando Luke.
Right.
But then again, they described Matt Martin in the post describes Leia's outfit as her comic outfit and her Battlefront outfit, which I think is during the Galactic Civil War.
Oh.
So I'm not sure. Anyway, the point is, Richard, back to your point, I do think they are going to, the Star Wars Knights are their own kind of photo op thing, right? I suspect that, they're not going to have Ahsoka Tano interact with Darth Vader when they're walk around characters, right?
Oh, there's no way that would ever happen. No way. Way too many repercussions there.
But they're going to be, this back to Tricia's point, I think they're going to be running two different timelines at the same time in the non-resistance part of the outpost. And so if you talk to Han Solo, he's going to be giving you a new, this is when you interact with the characters. Han Solo's actor is going to be performing a New Republic era Han Solo, right? And Darth Vader is going to be performing a Galactic Civil War hunt for Luke Skywalker version of Darth Vader. We'll find out what Leia's doing. Is she recruiting for the Rebellion? Is she recruiting for the New Republic? Chewie can be anywhere. R2 can be anywhere. But I think it's like they try to do with these characters. They're going to try to keep each character on message, right? So if the Ahsoka actor they have now, if you asked her about Rey, she's going to say, I don't know Rey. Who's Rey, right? And so I think they're going to use the dialogue that the characters have, and maybe Tricia's right. Ultimately the music as well potentially to clue you in on like what timeline you're supposed to be in.
Wow, I think that's a good idea, but that would be very confusing. I know if some people don't know the music well enough, they may know from the prequel era, the Duel of the Fates. They may know Across the Universe, across the universe,
across the stars,
and you get your Star Wars Beatles crossover. That might be very confusing if they go back and forth with that. So I think they're going to keep it really pre The Empire Strikes Back.
I'm curious because BJ has kind of blown my mind a little bit.
But they handle it at Avengers Campus just fine. They just have to map out when those characters are coming out so that they're not crossing the streams. I think they have the process already available to them and they can fluctuate it. They don't necessarily, when the say Wakandans come out, they're not going to cross over with say Hawkeye, and they are able to move them in and out. So I think they have the process, but I think we shouldn't overthink it because the music and all that kind of stuff, I think they're trying to tell us it doesn't matter that much anymore. If you want to go and see Darth Vader, he will be there, and they're not going to try to trick people up. And if people are trying to trick them up, I don't think it's going to matter. They're just going to say, you're in Star Wars, so have fun.
Well, that's what that's what's going to happen, because that's what YouTubers and bloggers want to do now, is go to Disneyland and Disney parks and trip up the performers and make sure that this is become one of their big videos on their TikTok channel by tripping up a performer. So I think with that, they're going to put it in such a specific timeline so that that doesn't happen, so everyone's on the same page. Because there's just way too much risk there.
I think they learned to not pin it to a specific timeline, and so they're going to do kind of the opposite.
Well,
the characters will have to have their
They're going to have to know where they stand.
Well, yeah.
This is why you're better off not hiring Star Wars fans to play these characters, because then you just hire somebody and you teach them a script and you tell them what they're supposed to say. And then if they don't actually know all 57 in-universe years of Han Solo's story, they're not going to accidentally trip up. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what they do. I mean, I don't think they're going to yet full bore Avengers campus it, right? Where it's just, the character shows up and, they're making no effort to sort of keep track of, 10 minutes after you see Iron Man, you can see, some character he never, Eternals or something.
Yeah, or
right?
Shang-Chi.
But at the same time, they probably do want to avoid getting to, I think the lore, trying to keep the in-universe continuity of the lore for the theme parks straight, cause more problems than benefits to the park. And so I think in their minds, minimizing the amount of time and effort and training they have to spend on things like timeline lore is probably a time saver and a money saver for them. So, I think they're going to try to minimize that as much as they can, just on the logistics side.
If I know Star Wars fans, like I think I know Star Wars fans, they're going to have a thing or two to say about that.
Well, and that's actually back to a point you made earlier. Part of what tripped them up is they designed Galaxy's Edge for Star Wars fans, not for theme park guests, right? Most theme park guests are coming to see stuff they already love, right? They're going on the Frozen ride because they love Frozen. They're going on Pirates of the Caribbean. That's why they put Johnny Depp into Walt's Pirates ride, because people want to see Johnny Depp's Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean. Sarah, I don't know enough because I don't remember. They play the John Williams music at Universal Studios Harry Potter lands.
Oh, yeah. So you were saying that, and I was thinking about our Epic Universe trip when we went into the Ministry of Magic, and you are in the movie. Like, you are in the Ministry of Magic. It blows your mind. The Harry Potter music is playing throughout the 2-hour queue, and it kind of just settles you down and like, oh, I'm in the Harry Potter universe. Like, it's great.
And that's the difference, right? Because when they were trying to say, oh, we're going to have verisimilitude to like the in-universe Star Wars, but theme park guests don't want to be in in-universe Star Wars. They want to go and experience Star Wars. And we experience Star Wars as viewers, not as participants. Right. So, of course, the characters don't hear John Williams music, right? Just like our real lives don't have soundtracks. Right. But and so in Harry Potter, the characters in Harry Potter don't hear the John Williams music. But it sure means a lot to a Harry Potter fan walking into the Ministry of Magic, hearing that music, because that's intimately tied with your love for those movies and those stories is the music that went with them. And so, like you said, in 2019, you wanted to walk into Galaxy's Edge because hearing the John Williams music would put you in the emotional frame of mind to experience your love for Star Wars, even if it's not a sort of true to an in-universe experience of anyone who's actually living in the Star Wars galaxy.
I think if they had the chance to do it all over again, they would flip the script and just have the Star Wars land be a Star Wars land where you can go see these characters in continuity, out of continuity, doesn't matter. But for like a Star Wars night, they would do the immersive storytelling. They would do the Galactic Star Cruiser for Star Wars night.
Like, yeah, actually, I was thinking about that. Like, so in this blog post, it says that let's see, Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewbacca will be reunited amid the rocky spires, which is something they didn't really do in the movies, right? So I think that they're really listening to fans and like giving us what we want. And I feel like if this goes well, like if these characters are interacting, a step further could be doing something similar to the Galactic Star Cruiser experience, or what they do at Knott's Berry Farm, which is called Ghost Town Alive, where there is a set story for the day. It's about 6 or 8 hours of the day. Characters mingle with you, but every so often they do like a scripted scene. And can you imagine that? Like characters doing a scripted scene on one of those platforms all throughout Galaxy's Edge. Like, let's say Luke and Leia are talking to kids at the beginning of the day and like, we're looking for kyber crystals. We're looking for kyber crystals. And suddenly the kids, they help lead them to like find a kyber crystal in the spires. And then later on, there's another story moment where Leia actually puts the kyber crystal into her saber that you see in Rise of Skywalker. And that saber you can buy at Dok-Ondar's. And then later on, even than that, Darth Vader comes and they have like some kind of like Luke and Leia fight Darth Vader. Like how awesome would that be in some climactic scene?
Hey, you're making sense. You're making too much sense here.
Disney parks.
I think
that would be great.
And I mean, how cool, you know, like, and throughout, like, it's not scene. It's a scene, and then the characters will
It's kind of like the
you.
Fan Fest nights at Universal Studios. And whereas, well, up until, I don't know how long ago, because we haven't seen Vi Marati in so long, she was out there trying to put together little pockets of resistance fighters. Well, now Luke he's searching for pieces, artifacts to building a lightsaber.
Right.
And that could be something that would lead to Savis, or if people already have their lightsabers, you could interact them with their. I wouldn't want this to be a big commercial where you follow Luke for an hour and it leads you to Savis and go, okay, kids, break out your credit cards. Don't forget to drink your Ovaltine. Just tie in so much commercialism.
I like your idea that you've been putting out here in terms of like, you know, these events that are happening during the day. And you can even put them in the app. I mean, the character appearances are already in the app, right? And so for the people who want to spend the day in Batuu and experience these story moments, you could give them the opportunity to say, oh, wait, at 2:00, we got to go over there to see what Leia does next.
Yes.
Or, as you said, Richard, with the Star Cruiser, I mean, you do the basically Star Wars LARP with the VIP plaid vest in Star Wars, right? So you have the cast member in costume whose job it is to lead you on a 7-hour LARP experience through the land. And they have that teed up where you're guaranteed to meet Luke and you're guaranteed to see Darth Vader and da-da-da-da-da. And it's, you know, I mean, it's going to be thousands of dollars or whatever it is for the, you know, for the plaid vest day. But still, right, you could actually monetize different experiences, right? You have the momentary things, you either see it or you don't. You could have a whole day. But to think that, you know, a family, you know, so this is why, again, back to what we said, Florida's so different. Like the family from Brazil who's here for 6 days is not going to want to spend 8 hours running missions in Galaxy's Edge. That's just not realistic.
I think too, we have to remember that the average park goer has seen Star Wars once. They haven't read books or comics, and they just want these people to have an experience, so that Star Wars is important to them in the way that meeting Anna or Elsa, has helped elevate the Frozen franchise, how the Encanto show at Epcot helps keep that profile going, how the Moana walkthrough at Epcot helps keep that in people's minds. So they needed to have a way to allow particularly kids and casual fans to have Star Wars reanimated and brought back into their imagination. And so while we talk about it on a really complicated level, the average fan is who they're doing this for and need to re-energize. And I think that's going to be their process initially. This is just to get people it back into their consciousness, and then they can work from there. Star Wars right now is like the low man on the totem pole, as far as they're not Zootopia, they're not Moana, they're not Frozen. They need to fight their way back up to the top, as in young people's minds, because you need the young people to grow up and to be fans when they're older. And so this is about clawing back into people's consciousness, particularly kids, young fans, and casual fans.
Yeah.
Bring up a good point.
I agree. I'm still gonna stick to the timeline where everyone's gotta know the characters to know where they are in the timeline. But being a big Marvel fan, I'll go over to Avengers Campus, and if I see Iron Man and Shang-Chi, I'm not gonna think, now wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense, and go demand a refund. I don't even think about that.
Right, or like the Falcon Captain America, right? When he's walking around,
right?
And if Iron Man is there,
Sam Wilson,
like Sam Wilson. Technically, Sam Wilson didn't become that until Iron Man was dead.
That might make me go, no, wait a minute, who's not getting paid here? Come on, people. Don't do that.
I don't clock it either, though.
Okay. Well,
and also, you got the Avengers music playing in Avengers Campus. Yeah, it just smooths over everything.
Now, one of the things that the StarWars.com says is that the Imagineering and Disney live entertainment teams work closely with Lucasfilm to craft all new looks for the characters. And I got excited. Oh, they're all going to be in new costumes. This is great. Luke, Han, and Leia. I can't wait for this. But then the article continues by saying Han will be in his iconic vest, and Leia will rock a battle-ready white outfit similar to her Hoth outfit and her look from Battlefront 2 and the comics. So, are you going with new looks, or are you not going with new looks? You say the two different things in the same sentence. Everyone is going to want to see these characters and their iconic looks.
Yes.
Okay? But then don't say they're going to craft all new looks.
I think Leia's easier to make her identifiable no matter what she wears just by doing puns.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they say she's going to have the braid.
That's like what they do in the Marvel comics. Like, they'll just have her braids.
Yeah, she'll wear the white outfit, but with the tan vest that you see in Battlefront 2 and in the comics.
Okay.
So that's close enough to the iconic look. Mm-hmm. But, I was all excited for new outfits.
Chewie's going to wear his bandolier on the other shoulder.
Yeah.
Or wear the solo bandolier where you have two shoulder straps.
Yeah.
There's a couple of characters missing here. Who clocked that they didn't mention C-3PO or Lando Calrissian?
They got to keep some characters for Star Wars nights.
Is that wave 2?
I don't know. I think it just the budget is really where that is.
But if you're going to have R2, you got to have 3PO. And I know 3PO is a whole big budgetary concern, getting an actor in there so he sounds right, so he looks right, and that costume is very hard to wear. And I get the logistics, but if you're going to have R2, have C-3PO. Lando, I want Lando, but I'm sure he'll be in there in another wave or two. But C-3PO does appear in the Echoes of the Empire comics.
Oh.
And these are the comics. It's a 5-issue comic series starting on April 22nd, written by Ethan Sachs, no stranger to Star Wars. And the synopsis here is that Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and Chewbacca head to Batuu in search of important intel and stumble upon a dangerous relic, one that puts them on a collision course with the Empire. So this comic series will give you the reasons why all these characters are on Batuu. And then Ethan Sachs says, consider Echoes of the Empire a holocron that reveals the secret story behind the experience.
Ooh.
What questions do you want answered while going into this new Galaxy's Edge?
I fundamentally know who the characters are and the experience I'd want to have with them. I mean, I'd want to drool over Han and, talk rebelling with Leia. So to me, I mean, the story will be fun to know it because maybe you have a hint of something you could say to the character to kind of get into the vibe of what they're doing. I always had fun like talking to Vi Marati because you knew what, she was trying to get people to resist. She was trying to, skip around where the stormtroopers were. So that's going to be similar. Like maybe you'll see Leia and you'll see the stormtroopers over there and you'll be like, Leia, careful. The stormtroopers are around the corner. You need to go that way, type of thing. That to me would be fun. So if we know the hints of what's happening on Batuu, that's fun. Then you can interact with them.
Okay. BJ, is there any question that you really want to know personally before you go into this new iteration?
I was intrigued a little bit by what they mentioned in terms of adding in some timeline appropriate updates to the other places besides the characters, right? So they're going to offer different stuff in Dok-Ondars because we're 30 years or something earlier on the timeline. They hinted Savi's workshop, right? We'll have new stuff. Droid Depot, you'll build different droids. Oga's Cantina, they mentioned the Cantina Band music track will be in there, which I think there was a version of that already, isn't there? But
yes,
I guess it's the classic version.
Right, not the remix.
Right, will be on the playlist. So, again, maybe they'll have some menu items that are themed more to the OT era or something like that. So I'm sort of intrigued on, if once you're reskinning things, right? Like once you're taking that first order cargo and making it the surplus store with the clone troopers, what is that, what other implications does that have? Because it's kind of apropos what Tricia was saying earlier, right? At least in Florida, all the sort of in-universe merch is in Batuu. And there's a handful of things that aren't, like some of those stuffed Ewoks, I think, that are technically not in-universe toys made their way into Batuu. But still, Batuu, they've been, generally trying to keep it fairly, in-universe-ish. Not Hasbro action figures, right? Like aren't showing up in Batuu. And whereas Tatooine Traders has all the, T-shirts with art of the characters and stuff. And pretty much all the Mandalorian and Grogu merch is in Tatooine Traders. So, again, I'll be curious to see, as they expand the timeline, of how they work that out, right? Are they also become more flexible with, if you want to buy a Princess Leia Rebel shirt, in the marketplace in Batuu, it'll be there, even though it looks nothing like what a resident of Black Spire Outpost would actually be able to buy. Just are we breaking down all the barriers, right? Or just the timeline barrier and the character barriers?
They've already broken that barrier with the resistance stuff. The race stuff, to me, seems like you're breaking a barrier anyway. And
a lot of the stuff has the big Star Wars logo on it now.
Yeah.
The ship models have the Star Wars logo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They have out of universe plush in universe as well.
Yeah.
Like all kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't even bother asking any of the cast members, because they'll just buy it and walk away. But I am very excited that the first order cargo is going to transform into the Black Spire Surplus store, because we hardly ever go to that first order cargo.
It's like an afterthought.
Yeah, we'll kind of do like a loop around. It's like, okay, let's go. I think we've never bought anything from there, so I'm happy to see this whole new store. And for Dok-Ondar, like you were saying, there was BJ. They're gonna have all new stuff in Dok-Ondar's. So let's throw this out. What do you hope to find new in Dok-Ondar's Den of Antiquities in terms of the stuff he's got all around? The blasters, the helmets, the creatures, the stuff he has that he's collected.
Like just on display.
Yeah, on display. Yes, on display items.
I want the Ark of the Covenant back.
Oh, God.
Which technically is it's in the Clone Wars. So come on.
I feel like in a funny way, Tricia mentioned it earlier, I feel like that actually gives them permission to put more prequel-oriented stuff in Dok-Ondar's, because it's a lot less distant, right? If you're thinking about a Gungan weapon or something, right? It's like, how many of those are really going to be around 75 years later, in the sequel trilogy era? Whereas, when you're talking about, okay, would there still be stuff from Naboo, sort of like Luthen in
Luthen Rail, Andor.
Wouldn't a lot of the prequel stuff, prequel Jedi stuff, prequel political stuff, Naboo stuff, that would still be around 20 years later, right? In 25, whatever, I don't know, depends what our timeline is, but it's a whole generation closer to the prequel trilogy. And so to my mind, that gives you, again, this sort of lore-based permission structure to say, a lot of this stuff that would be, and I'd have to go back and look at my photos from Dok-Ondar's, but certainly, I would be curious if, for example, they had some stuff in there now that was sort of like New Republic kind of post, late Return of the Jedi, sort of implied New Republic era stuff. And in theory, maybe that should come out if you're going back to sort of the OT era, right? And so maybe you swap out some of the, post-Imperial period stuff for some pre-Imperial items or stuff like that. And again, that's what Tricia, this is back to, that's some deep cut, for the hardcore fans. But that's where you should do it, right? Is in the set dressing and things like that. It's almost like the hidden Mickeys for Star Wars fans, right? Is give us the Easter eggs, and if the casual visitor doesn't have any idea what all this stuff on the wall is, and it's not going to take photographs and blow them up at home and try to figure out what everything is. That's fine.
I hope they drop some stuff in from Ahsoka season 2.
Oh.
I mean, I just think that's what I would do. I'd be like, oh, here's some stuff we could throw it in there, and maybe some people will notice that, that something in there, or, we have Dathomirian witches now, stuff that we know exists in the lore. And so there's some things, there's been quite a few years of Star Wars that have come out since they dressed this stuff. And so there's different things you can put in there.
I mean, you could have Anakin Skywalker's holocron if you wanted.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many he made, but you could pretend, right? I mean, stuff like that, in 2019, they may not have felt like, that is that a thing that exists, and are we allowed to talk about it, right? Whereas now it's made clear in Ahsoka season 1 that Anakin Skywalker made a holocron, or at least training tapes, and Ahsoka Tano has them.
Yeah.
That's a thing, right? So anyway, yeah, I like the idea that there's a lot more, maybe you just put some Cassian stuff from the Andor show, maybe you work in some of the, Clea and Vel, or Nemec's Manifesto, or something like that, right? You could put in, because now it's funny. It reminds me, because we're the generation that remembers this, right? Like we consumed all the expanded universe, and then 3 years later, like, oh, by the way, Anakin had an apprentice the whole time.
Yes. Well, you know what? Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, and we have to rethink, and I mean, we really basically have 2 different versions of the Clone Wars, but still, yeah. Right. And so but we're in this point now where it's like it opened in 2019. So you're talking about development, 2016, 2017, 2018, heading toward 2019. What did they think they could draw from versus what they have now, with a bunch of Disney Plus shows and more comics and stuff and books? You could do a bunch of really interesting, Easter eggs and merchandise that literally weren't in the cards before.
And speaking of that, what I would love to see, one of the things that knocked me out when I first went into Galaxy's Edge was going into Ronto Roasters and seeing that what was roasting the meat was the pod from a pod racer, and actually seeing the scale of that in the room. So what I would love to see is in Dok-Ondar's at the very top, it's this domed ceiling. I would love to see just part of a purrgil, just to see the scale of the purrgil. Maybe a purrgil tentacle is hanging up there. It's like, whoa, that's how big, extrapolate from there how big a purrgil would actually be.
Well, I love that idea, cool. But now let's go to a new tunnel you can walk through, but you're really walking through an ocean, and you see purrgils going over you, and you see an Opie and all those Phantom Menace creatures, the clawfish.
Yeah.
That
would be neat.
Oh my goodness, I want that so bad.
So now you want an in-universe aquarium.
Oh, yes, I do. Yeah, you have Dianogas everywhere, and you have all of these Naboo sea creatures that we only saw for a few seconds.
Drone show.
That would be cool, too.
Yeah, we were already told don't hold your breath for a drone show. They don't have enough space out here.
Well, maybe Florida.
in East Coast.
Yeah, maybe you guys look at the drone show, and we'll get our projected Star Wars aquarium. I want that so bad. You have Gungans swimming through, and okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, you guys spent so many years being mad that we got Star Wars weekends, right?
That's true.
And you didn't. And now you guys are going to have a way cooler Galaxy's Edge than us for the indefinite future, and the East Coasters are going to be jealous that you have this cool reinvented new OT era Galaxy's Edge that we don't get. So anyway, I just made me laugh because Tricia was getting the point of it may very well be that that they do something like a drone show in Florida because they can. There are things logistically that they can't do in California. There's fireworks limitations on the fireworks and stuff in California that we don't have in Florida. And so, that again, they should take advantage of that to make the 2 lands different instead of trying to be so wedded to the idea that they're the same.
I think we're going to get Ahsoka season 2 stuff. I think they're going to start layering it. And I think they're going to start, one by one, but you have to activate it at a certain level.
I think if Mandalorian and Grogu is a humongous hit, which I hope it is, that your Galaxy's Edge over at Hollywood Studios will turn more into something of that timeline. So you do see more of the Dathomirian witches doing their little witchery over here, and you see maybe you'll go to Peridia.
Thrawn.
You see Thrawn.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll see more Mandalorian and Grogu stuff from the film. You'll see the Amanamans.
Do you guys have Mando and Grogu on East Coast?
Yes.
You do? Okay. That's what I thought.
But he's the only one we have. Like, we don't have a Boba Fett or an Ahsoka or anything.
Oh, sad.
No Fennec Shand?
No Fennec.
Oh,
no. No Fennec or Sabine. Yeah, that was just over here.
Yeah, they're just not. It's not been as flexible, but yeah, that's why there might be something different. But I do think they're aiming at something. It's just going to be different.
Okay.
All right. So now the Disney Park blog does reassure everyone that the projection show Shadows of Memory, a Skywalker saga, will still be happening on select evenings, Fire of the Rising Moons.
Mm-hmm.
So
you know what?
There's a lot of prequel stuff in that Shadows of Memory projection show.
Right.
So I think they're gonna tie that in somehow, and I'm so glad they're gonna keep that, because that just started a year ago, and that is mind blowing. So you got to keep that.
Oh yeah.
Then again, you do see scenes from The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and meanwhile Han Solo's down there going, "I get frozen and what? What's happening?" And Kylo runs back there at the First Order section like, "Hey, what about us?" Rey's over there at the Rise of the Resistance area going, "Hey, no love for the sequels, really. Come on."
It's funny how Shadows of Memory just goes through the original trilogy and stops.
Stops at the Ewok celebration, and that's all there is, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Drive carefully.
Interesting.
Yeah, Ray's over there going, the story continues, right, people? Disney, the story does continue? It's like, yeah, Ray, we've been meaning to talk to you about this.
Oh.
All right, well, these new editions will debut over here at Disneyland on April the 29th.
With a few things being sprinkled in earlier.
Right.
We don't know what yet.
Right.
So. Well, when will you two be here to visit Galaxy's Edge Legacy Edition?
As soon as it's ready.
So we'll see you on April 29th?
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite things ever, was just getting to talk to Luke Skywalker for like the 30 seconds where my brain stopped and I froze in time.
Yeah, I have video.
I did. I turned into an 8-year-old, so that's fine.
And right now, Disney's hearing that going, mission accomplished.
Yes.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, and speaking of that, what I would love is if Han and Leia were around, I'm like, okay, guys, kiss.
They need something for them to fight over something or something, give that Empire Strikes Back vibe.
Absolutely. I can't wait. Oh.
All right. Now, Sarah, go take a cold shower.
Okay.
And then we'll continue, okay?
All right, whoosh, okay.
All right, now.
I'm back.
The other news that came out a day later was that after 14 years, Kathleen Kennedy will step down from Lucasfilm leadership to return to her first love, producing. And Dave Filoni will lead the studio as President and Chief Creative Officer, alongside Lin-Wen Brennan as co-president. And she was the general manager for ILM for 16 years. Mm-hmm. So when this news came out, what were your reactions?
Tricia?
Finally.
Now, this has been teased like how many times over the last couple of years? Mm-hmm. Every other month, it's like Kathleen Kennedy's retiring. So when we saw this news finally come out, I thought, okay, let's go back to the Galaxy's Edge news, because that's nothing but fluff. That's clickbait there, because she ain't retiring. But apparently she is.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, so you initially thought
I thought it was one of these
another
story.
It came out on StarWars.com first, and then pushed a press release. So it came out, like, the first place I looked was Star Wars. When I clicked on it within 2 minutes of being dropped by Variety. So I went to StarWars.com and there was already a post. So they had, and obviously now we know that Deadline had done the exit interview at the end of Starfighter filming. So in December at some point, they were prepared. It's just, when was it going to happen? So I know there's been a lot of talk, and it feels like they keep saying it. The obvious point was at least 2 years ago, if not a couple years before that, but they had a hurdle. This is a woman with a huge iconic presence in Hollywood, and she didn't want to go out looking like I lost, I had Willow canceled, I lost money in Dial of Destiny, and they had talked about this. She needed to go out on a win. And that kept her sort of locked in this position of not having her move along. I mean, all the things she mentions, Dave Filoni's been ready. So and Lin-Manuel Brennan has been ready, and she was made the president of Lucasfilm Business.
Yes.
How long's it been, BJ? Two
It was 2 years ago when
2 years ago. So
started,
she's been ready, more than ready as well to move this along. And so, people have talked about Carrie Beck potentially being the person, but it feels like this is the right move because Lin-Manuel just knows this company, and Lucasfilm is so much more than Star Wars in Hollywood, right? It is, Skywalker Sound, ILM, and a lot of other things in addition to what we think it is, as just Star Wars itself.
Right. What about you, BJ? What was your feeling?
I had sort of had the feeling that Tricia mentioned earlier. When it was a few days before that, there was a Lego event where they announced their smart brick technology, where the toys will sort of interact with lights and sound when they get near each other and things like this. And Dave Filoni was the person who went on stage to talk about this Lego smart brick. And that's something that in the past, the president of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, somebody would have done. And he did that. And that was, a few days before. And then, there was a Lucasfilm careers video that was published on YouTube, talked about all the different careers that are available at Lucasfilm. It had Matt Martin in it and ILM people in it, other people, and it ended with Dave Filoni, and Kathleen Kennedy was not in it. And then a day or two after that was the Galaxy's Edge news. And I agree with Tricia just, in terms of the corporateness of it. It feels like, the commitment to the sequel trilogy was something that Kathleen Kennedy had wanted. It was something that, her team did with Imagineering when it was being developed. And, she seems to have fought for a while, right, to try to keep the sequel trilogy important and to sort of not go back to the OT era characters, move forward or go backward like to the Acolyte or to Andor, but not do legacy OT Skywalker stories anymore in live action. So anyway, it's so sometimes like, okay, the dam is breaking because they're putting these characters that she has been roadblocking into the parks. So I was a little surprised that news came the next day, maybe, but to me, it felt inevitable at that point. The exit interview was interesting because she did say that she said 2 years ago, she talked to Bob Iger and Alan Bergman, the CEO of Disney and the head of Disney Studios, about the succession plan. I mean, look, I think Dave Filoni would say that he wasn't maybe ready to be president of Lucasfilm in 2012. Right. Like, no. When George first sold the company. Right. And so now, she got to this point where she can say implicitly in this exit interview, Dave got to work with multiple movie directors, right? He got to be on Rogue One. He got to work on Last Jedi. He obviously shadowed Jon Favreau for a lot of The Mandalorian. He co-wrote the Mandalorian movie. He was on set for a lot of the filming of the Mandalorian movie. He's now filmed Ahsoka season 1 and season 2. He's now ready, thanks to my mentoring, he's now ready, to run the company. The other articles in like Variety and Hollywood Reporter and The Wrap were much more sort of even-handed on the highs and lows and ups and downs of her tenure. But, that it is what it is. But I sort of feel like, it's time to do something different. The 2015 to 2019 movies didn't land the way they should have. And, the 2019 to 2025 Disney Plus stuff was at its highs and lows, right? And I think we need to, franchise is ready to, unfortunately, kind of another reset, right? I mean, we had the EU reset, and then we had the PT reset, and then we had the sequel trilogy reset, and now we're going to have to reset again. But, you just it's like any major company, right? You're never going to successfully reset with current management. So they need to tack with a under new management sign on the restaurant and hope that people come back for the fajitas now?
I mean, the biggest takeaway of Kathleen Kennedy's legacy is that there has been a lack of vision. I mean, you could see that kind of trickling through in the articles that were written immediately after in the major trades, is sort of that lack of vision. That's something that we've talked about at Fangirl Blog for a long time. And Dave, that's what Star Wars needed at the top, was vision. And we know Dave has that. And he's been talking about his vision for the last couple of celebrations here, talking about mentoring people, which was important to George Lucas. He's finding that he can mentor people. And he talked at Celebration Japan about having a whiteboard, and, he has ideas. And I think now he's had to sort of be careful, because she had very specific ideas what she didn't want. And, this announcement about the parks is the first hint of, there's a lot of what we call paratext when you're talking about Star Wars, a lot of things that a lot of people expected that just didn't happen. And I think some of that, Dave Filoni is a Gen Xer who, he's BJ's age. So he's, 5 years younger than me. So he was like, three when Star Wars first came out. There's a lot of things I think that he's imagined and wanted to do. And he actually has things he would like to see. Whereas Kathleen Kennedy came in as a person who was a spectacular producer. She enabled people's visions to happen one story at a time. And occasionally some of those stories, went on and they made more of them. But even in the run of like Jurassic World or the Jurassic Park movies, they didn't get better, right? They weren't able to sort of build on the vision. And that's what Star Wars has desperately needed in this kind of the last, there was, we need to get things going, but there was a desperate need for vision, and not just one movie at a time or one TV show at a time. And so I think there are a lot of people that she had in place now that she's gone that are very good and exceptional. And she was able to get good people in there in Lucasfilm, as far, doing things like Carrie Beck was one of the first, she brought her in, and she's helped raise Dave up. But it's been past time for Star Wars to be able to move on. And I think we have the vision now it may not be perfect, but there's vision.
And to your point, that does make a lot of sense. Like each Star Wars Skywalker saga film that we've watched, they're great standalone films. Like they work on a standalone level. We just watched Rise of Skywalker for Richard's birthday, and it's a
great fun film.
It's a good film. It's just doesn't gel with The Last Jedi. But where we've seen the vision, the continuous vision through different series like Clone Wars to Star Wars Rebels to The Bad Batch, like all of that is one continuous vision headed by Dave Filoni. And so that vision, I think, will be permeated throughout Lucasfilm. And the fact that we have Lin-Wen Brennan taking care of the business side of things, I think is super important.
She's the Roy Disney of this.
Exactly. If you look back at the Walt Disney Company, that company was so successful because you have Walt Disney as the creative vision, and you have his brother, Roy, handling the business, having, massive coronaries because of it. But you need someone to handle that so that someone can focus on the creative. And that's what we've been saying Lucasfilm needed for 10 years now. So now it's happening.
Well, there's no doubt that Kathleen Kennedy is one of the greatest producers of our time. And I think she was put in a very difficult position when she took the head of Lucasfilm, because she said in this Deadline.com interview, which I think is an extraordinary, very bold interview, that she says that she felt a responsibility to George Lucas. So he asked her, would you please take Lucasfilm? And she said yes. But had it been anybody else, she would have said, no, I want to do my first love. I want to produce. I don't want to run a studio. But now here she is running the studio, and she's trying to uphold George Lucas's vision, but at the same time answer to Bob Iger. And Bob Iger's been a big roadblock to everything, and she answers to him. So I think a lot of the shade that was thrown toward Kathleen is really should be thrown more to Bob Iger. I think she was taking the bullet for him for a lot of things. And I know she's not innocent in a lot of stuff because she would hire directors and writers and then let them go when they didn't adhere to what she was saying or what she wanted. But you hired them for their vision, so let them do their vision. Now, I wasn't in the room. I don't know what happened. But I think she was just in a really, really tough spot here.
I think too, she's not what you would call a multitasker. She was used to doing one movie at a time and sticking to that vision. And where things started getting, it really started running off the rails was when we started getting multiple movies, right? The Last Jedi, then into Solo, and then she was catching up on Solo. It's almost done, and then trying to course correct on that. And so that's okay, because like she was good at producing, and she even says that I've never run a company. It's a completely different there's different things that have to happen. You're answerable to shareholders, or certain things you can and can't say, and it was obvious during the run that she liked producing, that she would go to where they were filming the movies, and that isn't necessarily what you need to be doing when you're the president of a company. Like, you don't see Iger going and hanging out on movie sets because he has too many things to do. And I always felt like she was conflicted between, and I think that's one of the reasons Lin-Wen Brennan moved up, was to take over some of the things that the president of Lucasfilm would have been doing. And I know people will say George Lucas did it, he made movies, but we are now he was a billionaire, and now you're a company that's answerable to shareholders and you're traded publicly. The rules are just different.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And Kathleen Kennedy did mention in that interview how she also, producing, you are living in the moment. You're making momentary decisions every day. Whereas as a studio head, it's a totally different mindset. You have to live in the future. You have to react to things that have happened. It's reactionary. It's futuristic. It's basically not living in the moment.
Oh, when people were saying, I want Dave Filoni to be president of Lucasfilm, like, no, because he wouldn't be able to do the things he would want to do, like storytelling and making the actual films. You can be an executive or you can be a filmmaker. You can't be both. And by filmmaker, I mean getting in there to the nitty gritty and making the film from beginning to end. And Kathleen Kennedy even says in the interview, I never envisioned that I would be an executive, but my love is making movies. I just love making movies. And when she talks about making movies, you can hear so much passion and enthusiasm that comes out in her words. So I'm glad that she's going to do what she's going to do. And she also said that she's not stepping away. She's not quitting Lucasfilm. If they ever need her, she's right here. They got her number.
Yeah.
She'll come back and produce.
You won't see her doing another Star Wars movie beyond the ones that have been signed. But it's nice that she could say that. I mean, she can say that, but I think it's a hard split for the people that are working there.
Yeah, Richard, I agree with what you said. I mean, I don't blame Kathleen Kennedy for not having a skill set she doesn't have, right? Her career didn't lead her to develop. But I think she does have some responsibility for not recognizing the weaknesses in her own skill set and making sure she had good hires to do those things, right? And so her mistake was not putting together a strong enough story group. We heard a lot of different iterations of the story group over the years of what it was and what it wasn't, and was it really just publishing or was it really the movies? But if I've never run a company before. I love producing movies, and I don't know how to run a franchise, right? A saga, as opposed to an iterative set of movies. Then you say, I need to surround myself with people who can do that work well. And just for whatever combination of hiring decisions and whatever thing people didn't work out, she didn't do that. And the buck stops with you. You're the president of the company. The buck stops with you. And if the storytelling vision isn't yours and you didn't hire the people to create it, then the lack of vision's on you. The other thing I thought was interesting about that interview is they asked her if she had any regrets.
Oh no.
And she said the wrong thing about Solo. She said the I regret burdening Alden Ehrenreich with recasting Han Solo when the fandom wasn't ready for that. So it's blame the fans, right? Instead of take accountability for her judgment. What she should have said is, I regret firing Lord and Miller from Solo and releasing the vision of that movie that an Oscar-winning duo was almost done filming when I cut them off. And if she had said that, I would have had a lot of respect for the self-awareness of, you know what, the Lord and Miller cut is a better movie. But that's not who she is, so she's not.
Well, but it's all tied to she thinks that The Last Jedi is a great movie. And that, I mean, you can argue whether that is or isn't true, but she believes that. So she won't allow any fault of the fall off from The Last Jedi to contribute to where we ended up with people not being interested in going to Solo. It just, in her mind, has to be that people weren't ready to recast. And that has always been, it hasn't been very good at, when you work in a big company, you go into these meetings where you talk about what went wrong on something. And you're talking about what went wrong on multi-million-dollar projects typically. And then you troubleshoot and you break it down and you say, what can we do better? A lot of times that's communicate, have a better vision, scope the project better. You'll go into the nitty-gritty and what went wrong when you're done. And you have experts that tell you what went wrong. And she's been unable to identify clearly that there's numerous things that went wrong with Solo. And Alden, the recast, is probably the least, the least point of all the things that went wrong with that movie. And that, that's concerning that over the years, she has been really unable to just say, and we see Feige do it. Yeah, we didn't do this right, or we didn't communicate, or we were too busy. Yes, Chapek and Iger did not help her at any point, but all the other executives in Disney are in the same boat, and some of them have been able to, I think everybody's going to go post-COVID era. We're going to give all of you a pass, right? But a lot of other Disney storytelling units have been able to rise up beyond the COVID era and fix the problems that we know happened. I mean, budget issues were blown, storytelling things were blown just because of time, and things got messed up on timelines. Everybody gets it. We all get it. But that was just, that answer was like, yeah, we're still on that. Like, if you can't be that far away and go, yeah, some things happened, and yes, the recasting is the least of them. But through her whole history, she loves movies, but she's never been a fanboy or a fangirl of a movie.
There's been a lot of externalizing in this interview where, like you said, Tricia, it was all about everybody else and not me. And I lost a little bit of respect for her when it came to that, because here's another example, and get ready to open up a can of worms. When asked about the lows of running a company built on such a beloved IP, she says the lows are that you've got a very, very small percentage of the fan base that has enormous expectations, and basically they want to continue to see pretty much the same thing. And if you're not going to do that, then going in that you're going to disappoint them. So you're blaming the fans. Yes, when it comes to Star Wars, everybody, not a small percentage, everybody's got high expectations. And she goes on by saying that she warns everybody there's going to be a lot of negativity online, so let's blame the fans once again. And Rian Johnson was spooked by all the negativity from The Last Jedi. And didn't you say, Sarah, that you saw something?
Ryan Johnson refuted that.
Yeah, said spooked.
Yeah. I think she mixed it all up in her brain. He was spooked about doing episode 9.
Right.
And he was like, nah, I don't want to go and finish this part off. But he was excited to do his 3 movies in his own little side of Star Wars. And I think, yes, he was rightfully spooked from 9 because he was like, oh no, I'd have to finish this off and half the people hate it. So I just don't want to do that. I think she just confused those two things, but that's been the problem. Puck News talked about it, that there's just so many people who don't want to work with her anymore. And so, you think like Ryan's been in there saying, I'll do Star Wars. He's been saying it all along. And, and then I'm like, wow, he's been like the guy who's been like, I'll work for them. And then you kind of like throw it on it. and say like, oh, he was scared, that's why we aren't doing this. And that's, you know, it was an eager beaver thing to announce he was doing a trilogy before your movie came out.
Yes.
Going back to the fans, that blaming the fans on a lot of stuff, the lows of running Lucasfilm comes down to the fans. I'm a little insulted by that, but she does say a very, very small percentage of the fan base that has the enormous expectations. Boy, is that so... Everything you just said there is wrong, Kathleen. Everything you just said there was wrong.
The problem is she's talking about hate grifters. The problem is when you talk about the hate grifters, you give them oxygen, and she's never learned how to deal with them. Most of the things that hate grifters get people on their side is a legitimate critique, but then they push it one step further and one step further. So that's where a lot of the hate grifting struggles when you have a really good storytelling, because there aren't enough weaknesses to poke people to get them to listen to you.
Now, Deadline did step into territory I did not think they would tread, and asked Kathleen about the films and directors which had been announced and then disappeared. So she starts off by saying that she has to tread very lightly here. And
she didn't.
And well, she did, but didn't.
Yeah.
Now, when she talks about the James Mangold and Dawn of the Jedi
film
debacle, if you want to call it that, she said that Mangold and Bo Willimon, who was one of the writers on Andor, and this is the first time I'd ever heard that Bo Willimon was going to be a writer on Dawn of the Jedi, and now I'm really anxious to see this. And she says they wrote an incredible script, but it is definitely breaking the mold, and it's on hold. Status, back burner. Status, we're never going to see this. It's breaking the mold, something that you really wanted to do, but it's on hold. Yeah, James, go talk to Patty Jenkins. She's got some stories for you. All right, so then she goes on to Taika Waititi. Taika has turned in a script that I think is hilarious and great. It's not my decision, especially when I've got a foot out the door. It is somewhat alive. This is somewhat BS.
Yeah, I feel like anything that she was ahead of is going to change when Dave Filoni has his story vision in place.
Well, especially on Dawn of the Jedi, I feel like Dawn of the Jedi for Dave would be like, that's on the no-go list. Like, how did the Jedi get started? The very first Jedi. That's on the list for Dave with like Planet of the Yoda species. Like, we're never going to see it, right? Like, that is better just never being a story. Let the fans imagine for themselves how it got started. It's ancient history. We're never going to know. So that's just a situation, I think, where that movie, again, Kathy gave permission for them to develop the script on that movie. And Dave probably said at the time, you know, I think that's a bad idea. I don't think it's a story we should do. And, you know, and versus Taika Waititi's movie, you know, depending on what it is and where it is in the timeline and what characters it involves, it could be somewhat alive because there isn't an email from Dave Filoni saying, as chief creative officer, this movie will never be made. You know? So again, I don't know, like maybe it's still on Dave's desk, right? It hasn't been affirmatively put in the circular file yet. So I don't know, but I think that's part of what's happening here. I mean, I do think she's telling the truth, right? Dave is chief creative officer. He has been for a year and a half. And so if he's given a red light on something, it is dead.
Well, he was still working for her. So he's not necessarily didn't say you can't, I don't like Dawn of the Jedi. He would have just laid down the reasons why he felt it was complicated to do it as a chief creative officer. And she was going to still do what she was going to do. Right. So, you know, where he still had to work with her, she was his boss. So there's only so much roadblock you can do as someone working under somebody who's going to say that you can be the president of the company. So he has to ride things out and give his feedback, but to a level that isn't going to piss off his boss. And we've all had to tread that line, right? For a client or a boss or somebody. So I just feel like now he's not limited by that, you know, reining in of his feelings about something.
Right.
The reality is this whole list is Miracle Max and the Princess Bride. They're only mostly dead.
So that pretty much spoiled the rest of the article there, BJ. But you're right. She says that the Donald Glover Lando's movie or streaming show, whatever it is at this week, she says Donald Glover has turned in a script. So this is somewhat alive. Once again, somewhat will never happen.
The ironic thing is, she says Solo was a problem because we recast Han and people wouldn't accept it, but she's like, I want to do a Lando thing, which feels like it would inevitably run into Han Solo at some point. Of all of them, I feel like that is the one that could survive this of all of them.
Yeah. The Ryan. Well, what about Simon Kinberg?
Absolutely not.
No.
No,
okay,
really.
Because Dave and Simon have worked together. Oh,
Yeah,
why do you not think so?
she writes. Well, this is a trilogy.
Oh.
Am I forgetting? Was this? This
was
has been
announced.
announced before. Okay.
Yeah, it has.
But she writes he's working on it right now. He wrote something that we read in August that it was good, but not there. We've pretty much appended the story and then spent a great deal of time on the treatment, which he finished literally about 4 weeks ago. And it's a very detailed treatment, like 70 pages, which most treatments are. So he is expected to give us something in March. That really is what's next, she says. And in the background, Dave Filoni's going, no, that's not what's next.
I know that they worked together on Rebels, but Kinberg was brought in by her to be, he was part of the original brain trust. So it's not like Carrie Beck and Dave Filoni had a choice. And I'm not saying he might not like him, but Kinberg is like toxic when you're talking about big, fandom movies. All you have to do is go back to his Marvel movies and go, oh no, that is not the confidence level you want to be bringing into a new Star Wars trilogy. It just, that's where I always make the point. She wasn't ever like a fangirl and could see it from that type of trying to sell a trilogy to people is like, oh, we're going to do Kinberg trilogy. That's going to immediately garner questions of what are we doing? I'm going to say this, particularly we're talking about representation of women.
Oh, so which movies was he in charge of?
That whole run of X-Men movies.
X-Men.
When it was for Fox.
The one where they went back in time and
Yeah.
Well, the fact
past.
that they say that he had turned in something in August and we pretty much appended the whole story.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that
doesn't
sound very good for Simon if you even append the whole story, which means you got to flip the whole thing around and start again.
Yeah.
Well, but that's how you effectively slow that development down as chief creative officer, and you can't say no to a project. Is you just, you give a lot of notes and say that, this needs to be fixed. I mean, it feels like, I'm sure, like a waste of time for the people that have to give the notes who don't really want to go there. But I also think when you're looking at moving on from her, you're just going to have to write some things off, and they're going to go on her line item. These are Kathleen Kennedy legacy projects that we've said no to. We're not spending another dime under, Lin Wen and Dave's sheet. He has money for development, and he's going to use it and spend it on things that he has been probably developing already separately.
Wow, going on that, so James Mangold, Taika Waititi, Donald Glover, Ryan Johnson, Simon Kinberg, they were paid to write these scripts. That's a lot of money that's just being wasted. Wow.
Which makes it all the more interesting that Soderbergh and Driver and the guy who did the script for them did it for free.
Oh,
yeah, that was all on spec. Steven Soderbergh, Adam Driver with a script by Scott Burns. You have Steven Soderbergh probably producing or directing. That's a big win for you.
Wow.
Adam Driver is shepherding this whole story. The actor who played Kylo Ren, you're going to get an amazing, very complicated personal story. And then it's written by Scott Burns. She writes, it was just great. Anything's a possibility if someone's willing to take a risk. Well, Kathleen, come on. Which side of the mouth are you talking out of here? Now, she says that this was approved by Lucasfilm, but turned down by Disney. And then she went on to say that this was also on the back burner.
And this is called The Hunt for Ben
Solo. The Hunt for Ben Solo,
well,
yes.
She's gonna, because there's fans who are actively campaigning for it, so she doesn't want to alienate them. But interestingly enough, Deadline goes and asks the questions, but does not ask about the new Jedi Order movie that she's been paying Daisy Ridley to be prepped and ready for since Celebration in Europe. She's been paying her all along to be ready and to hold a spot until that time. And she's been paying, I think we're like on the 4th or 5th screenwriter that we know of. All those people have been getting paid for it. Deadline did not ask her, and she did not give an answer. And I thought that was really interesting that was off limits for them to ask about.
It was a very obvious omission. And maybe they did ask, and Disney said, hey, about that part about the new Jedi Order, let's take that out, okay? Or you'll never get another thing from us again.
Yeah, it's obvious that interview is very heavily edited, and it happened in mid-December and it didn't come out until now. But I've done a lot of interviews. You can tell when you're doing an interview if it's had multiple passes on it, and this one reads more like people were line editing stuff and making it sound better until it got approved, and that probably went all the way up the Disney chain.
Well, it needed one more edit just so, okay, Kathleen, stop externalizing everything. It's not everyone else's fault. Maybe they could have rewrote that part of it.
For her, I actually think this was stronger than I thought she would do in an exit interview.
Oh, yeah.
She's very candid.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought this was a very bold interview, and she gave some very bold answers, even though some were slanted. But she went places I didn't think she was going to go, especially talking about Solo. Well, you know what? When it comes to Solo, I think it has more to do with the backlash of The Last Jedi.
A lot of
it was a really fun film, but everyone was mad at Star Wars, and Solo was just a casualty.
Well, looking ahead, so now we're into the future here. We have Dave Filoni, we have Lin-Manuel Brennan. What are your hopes and dreams regarding this change up?
Well, Dave Filoni is an expanded universe fan. He's my age. I think we're going to see some expand. The best moment in Star Wars in the Lucasfilm Disney era was when they announced Thrawn at Celebration Europe. And I heard talk at the time that because it was that announcement was received better than the live action panel, that there was some tension in the story group and all the way up to Kennedy, that they were not happy with how well that went off. I mean, it was insane. So I think that if you are Dave Filoni and you know that was he knows it was one of the biggest moments ever in his career announcing. I mean, the room was crazy electric. You will see some Star Wars Expanded Universe stuff coming back into live action, into the movies. And I think we're going to have announcements imminent by the end of the month of what he's been planning and what he's been whiteboarding, and that there are things ready to go.
That are greenlit now.
Yeah, I think she's going to be allowed this week or whatever to say, yay, Kathleen Kennedy has a great career. She's done great things. And they're going to just shoot us like we're going off in the hyperspace mountain.
All right. What about you, BJ?
So so one thing that's hard for me, because Trish and I have obviously been chatting about this nonstop since the news broke. The piece of information that I am most interested in knowing before I make real bold predictions is the pace that Disney is allowing Dave to be on. Like, is it one movie a year, right? Are they going to maybe do more than one movie a year? Is it one Disney Plus show a year, 2 Disney Plus shows a year, right? Because as of right now, we're looking at what we know is coming. Mando and Grogu in May, Ahsoka season 2 late in the year, Starfighter in May of 27. We don't know anything else.
Right.
And, is there another Disney Plus show that's been greenlit and maybe in production that we don't know about? Is the next Disney Plus show not going to be till fall 27? Is Dave's next movie May of 28? And is he then May of 28, May 29, May 30? Or is it going to be May 28, December 28? Right? And so he's got a whiteboard. His whiteboard probably is like Kevin Feige's whiteboard. It probably goes out 10 years.
Yeah.
But I do think, apropos of what we talked about the early part of this episode, I'll just say we have the Disneyland Parks announcement on Wednesday. and the Kathleen Kennedy retirement announcement on Thursday. They just recast Luke, Han, and Leia.
Oh,
at the Disney parks.
At the Disney parks. Oh boy.
Now I know it's not the same, right? I know face characters in the parks are not the same. It's not, but if you want to, like, if you really want to swing for the fences, right? If you really want to bring the enthusiasm back, if you're really going expanded universe era, you can't do deep fake CGI faces for the indefinite future of those characters. You're going to have to recast. And, I think they're going to do it. I think he's going to come out. I don't know whether it's going to be Heir to the Empire or something else, but I said to Tricia on Friday, I said, if you really want to blow people's minds with your first teaser trailer and set the tone, you put a guy on screen and he walks in a room and he says, I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you. And that's how you introduce your recast and you get people used to it. Now, if you really want to blow people's minds, it's I'm Leia Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you. And that will really tell people that you're in a new timeline if you do that, especially if she has a lightsaber.
Dave would have put Leia in Ahsoka season 1. It was there. He left the opening if he could have argued for it.
The scene with 3PO, when 3PO shows 3PO. Up, 3PO shows up to Hera's trial.
Was an alternate to do Leia and introduce her into that. I think Ahsoka season 2. Well, that set is locked down quiet. There are not rumor mongers. He went over there so that he would not have people leaking stuff. I think he's gonna start with that show.
Dave's gonna do Mara Jade.
Oh, that would be amazing. Or Leia with a lightsaber, like.
Thrawn leads to Mara. I feel like she was the biggest Star Wars expanded universe character there is, and I think we're going there eventually.
Well, I knew we were in good hands with Dave Filoni when he started putting holiday special stuff in Mandalorian. Like, this is my guy.
Mm-hmm. Or
I
Thrawn.
think that was more Jon Favreau.
Well, yeah, but Thrawn and Nogri in
right.
Star Wars Rebels, like, come on.
Well, where you have Dave Filoni, you have Jon Favreau, and they are one of us, so they know that people will get excited over Boba Fett's Pulse Blaster from the holiday special, and people will go crazy over Thrawn, and that's what we're getting. Not just fan service, it's because he knows that's what's important to the fans.
And I think that's one of the reasons Kathy specifically mentions the recasting of Han Solo in her exit interview, because she feels it's a mistake. And if things flop in 10 years, she can say, I told you so. Wow. Don't recast. I mean, I don't think that was accidentally in that interview.
Well, that's, like we said, that stuck out to us and to you guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, I'm going to go on record by saying it, but I've been watching some of these AI Star Wars films, and they are awesome. We get to see Mark Hamill circa 1980 in a new story. Now, with that said, you pay Mark Hamill. Yep, I'm sure he's like, I don't gotta be in wardrobe and makeup at 5 a.m. Count me in. And instead of having grips and electricians and craft service and DPs, you have the people who program the AI. So either way you look at it, someone's working. Just like when you say, oh, wait a minute, all these new CGI effects are taking over the actual physical effects. But look at the credits. Look how many people are working because of CGI. And some people have transferred over to CGI from the stop motion and the special effects that we all grew up on.
No AI will ever create a scene like Han and Leia before they kiss in Empire Strikes Back. That's impossible. That is Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford and the extra factor of chemistry and people who are smart.
Oh, I'd rather have that, but I also want to see new stories with the Han, Luke, and Leia that we grew up on, the young versions, and we don't have a DeLorean, so we can't go back in time, so I'm happy with those CGI, maybe little Disney Plus shows. They're getting better and better with each one I see, so I'll take that.
Okay, I do not agree with you. Here we're gonna have like a complete, like I need real
I think they'll try it. I think they'll try all of that stuff, but it's a matter of whether whether it works out for them. I think you can't replace actors doing amazing acting in
the rise
on film.
Yeah. The Rise of Skywalker, when they put Leia in the scenes, just they still completely stick out to me.
Well, those effects are pretty new.
I know, but I can't unknow that those are AI made, and it bothers the crap out of me. Like, having just seen it with you.
Richard, I hate to break it to you, Richard, but you're outvoted 3-1 on this call right now. And this is part of what Dave would be thinking about, right? Is if I recast, how do I handle the people who say, I don't want to see young Luke, Han, and Leia unless it's those faces, right? Like, I mean, he's good. How do I message to those people? I understand your concerns. I understand your emotional attachment to the characters and those actors. I understand why that's the Star Wars you want to see. And here's my reasons why I'm doing something different. And not everyone will accept it, right? But like, I think part of what you said, and it ties into the interview in the last 14 years, Kathy Kennedy has always been a kind of my way or the highway messaging person, right? And Dave Filoni is not. He wasn't with the animation. He was very empathetic during the Clone Wars to the fans who saw the EU Clone Wars conflicts, right? He was very empathetic during Rebels and these other things. And I think he will be the same way now if he's making a decision like, I'm bringing in Mara Jade, and there's all this lore out there that says George Lucas hated Mara Jade. How dare you use Mara Jade if George Lucas hated her, right? He's going to figure out how to, whatever, that's the perception. How do I message that? If I'm doing a recast, how do I he will.
I think it's the culture that you create in your franchise to get people accepting of different things. I think there's always a way, and I actually think Dave is good. You have to speak to the fandom to convince them to do something, and I think he's capable and well-versed at it from those early days when he talked to little podcaster girls, you know, breaking out of the mold and answering scary questions. That was him going Fangirls Going Rogue after many, many years of going on the podcast that was the only Star Wars podcast. You know, taking those steps, that was his stepping into being able to speak to any type of fan and answering them truthfully and in a way that he can, you know, say, I understand why you want something, and explain, and this is why I made this choice. You may not agree with it, but I'll at least explain to you why I made the choice.
Right. Well, let's just say that Dave Filoni said, I'm going to make a film that takes place between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and I'm going to recast everyone. Would you be happy with that? I know I would not, because I've got a certain perception of how Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Billy D. Williams, they look in that time frame. I wouldn't want to see that recast.
We argued adamantly to recast Carrie Fisher for The Rise of Skywalker because we felt it was important from Fangirl Blog's perspective that her story be continued. And if you could tell me an amazing story about Leia and Han Solo and Luke Skywalker in that time period, I would be all for it. I mean, it just doesn't matter to me as much. And I don't know, maybe it's because I've seen a million different iterations of Othello or Hamlet, you know, no, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine with it. And I wouldn't want to wish that I had to argue that they should have cast Carrie Fisher for episode 9, but I was very, very adamant that that's what they needed to do. Just like people argued passionately about Black Panther, you know, being recast at the time, and now it looks like they're going to do it. They finally acknowledged that they needed that character to tell the stories they wanted to tell.
The character and the lore of that character trumps any person creating.
And there were a lot of fans who wanted T'Challa recast and for them to move on because it was important to their community, and that's how I felt.
I mean, to me, the interesting question is, I mean, so like, you know, obviously, when the Dumbledore actor dies, you can't write Dumbledore out of the next 6 movies, right? You have to recast.
But he'd only been in, what, 2 movies? So
he was in 2.
I think a new actor was necessary.
I mean, and so again, they recast Philip Seymour Hoffman's character in Hunger Games, right? When he passed away. So, you know, I think that the more interesting question would be, I think to me, is the story between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi compelling enough to tell that you're willing to make the movie with new actors and run the risk of the backlash, right? Like, is the story really important enough? Like, I think if you're talking about post Return of the Jedi and we're going to do, 3 movies or more and a couple of Disney Plus series, and the New Republic era is a 6 or 7 year saga in Star Wars, and the war against Thrawn and all this stuff, and you want Luke and Leia and Han in it, along with Mara Jade and Ahsoka and Thrawn and Ezra Bridger and Sabine and Akbar and Mon Mothma and whoever else you bring in, right? That's a different pitch to the fans, right? We're going to tell this saga with these characters, and and he would say what Tricia said. I believe that there's no substitution for the human performance, and that is necessary for these stories to work. I'm more skeptical of, do you really need to do Shadows of the Empire or whatever the equivalent of that is, right? To like, there's just this story, this absolutely compelling story that you're asking people to just interlineate between these other movies with different actors.
Yeah, well, my point was more of a hypothetical. Going back to the AI versus recasting in a time period that we know so well.
Dave's already recast his favorite character.
Plo Koon?
Ahsoka.
Oh, yeah. And then he used a fan casting.
He did.
Rosario
he
Dawson.
did exactly what the Hunger Games did.
Yes.
But if the Clone Wars had been live action and Ashley Eckstein had been Ahsoka, I think there'd be a whole lot more backlash than there already was. Yeah. Because we only had the voice. People were a little more, they battled it, but they were a little more accepting of it.
Ashley would have never got the job if it was live action in the first place. But that's a different conversation.
I know, yeah, this is a different conversation.
Right.
So actually,
but I just want to say that I'm for both. I can be for both when it comes to certain time periods. AI, other time periods, live actors. Let's give everyone work. There we go.
Okay.
No one's out of a job. Okay. There we go. All right. So if the Skywalkers want to reach out to you and talk more about AI versus real actors or anything else, where do they go? How do they reach you, Tricia?
Well, you can find us at Fangirl Blog or fangirlsgoingrogue.com. And you could check out, BJ and I have a podcast, Hyperspace Theories, where we talk about storytelling. It's usually less timely and more like substance and
evergreen
hero's journey type stuff. And that you can find me at Fangirl Cantina on all the social medias, except for that tweet place. Not there anymore.
Yes. X.
I don't think anyone is. All right. BJ.
Say fangirlblog.com is where all my writing about Star Wars is. And the Hyperspace Theories podcast is also hosted there at Fangirl Blog, along with the podcatcher services. And my social handle is Red Pen of Lex, which is one of these outdated handles from 20 years ago fandom, deep cut reference. That is still my social handle. And so that's where my stuff is.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys for your insight. It's amazing talking to you. And wow, may the Force be with us.
And going back to Galaxy's Edge, Rising Moons.
Well, that wraps up episode 543 of
Skywalking Through Neverland.
We want to thank Tricia Barr and BJ Priester and all the Skywalkers for listening and watching.
Now be sure to subscribe to Skywalking Through Neverland on YouTube and follow us on our socials at Skywalking Pod, and join us every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time for Things We Want to Share. And this is our weekly live stream where we share stories, trivia, and things that we want to share. And we have the Skywalkers come on and share the things that you want to share. And once again, TikTok trivia. This is not trivia about TikTok, but every Sunday at 6 p.m. we have a whole new category. We started with pop culture in 2025, moved on to Stranger Things, Star Wars parodies, and now this coming Sunday, January 25th, we're going to do Disney Dogs.
Woohoo! Now you can get autographed copies of Today in Star Wars History, Parts 1 and 2, and Skywalking Through My Fandom at skywalkingthroughneverland.com/book. Also, Skywalkers, do you want to support the show? You can join the Skywalking Force on Patreon for early access and bonus episodes. And thank you so much. We thank you every week to everyone who is already on board.
And big thanks to our sponsor, Small World Vacations. Their Disney and Universal trip planning service is free of charge. So visit smallworldvacations.com and tell them Skywalking Through Neverland sent you, and rebel. Meh.
And remember, Spirit Jersey now has their own Star Wars and Disney licensed clothing, and you can head to spiritjersey.com and get free shipping with code SKYWalkNeverland. This code is in our show notes and on the screen right now. And you know what? I'll model this. You want to see the back?
Speaking of Mandalorian and Grogu from earlier, 123 more days until we're going to see them on the big screen.
Woo! Exciting.
Now, we are part of the Skywalking Network.
Skynet.
Home to more great shows like Talking Apes,
Star Warsologies,
and more.
Now stick around for bloopers and other fun bits that didn't make it into the show. And always remember
to rabble
and
Neverland on Alderaan. Or on a tauntaun. Don't land on a tauntaun.
Oh, or in a tauntaun.
Oh, no. 10:34 in the p.m. and we're recording? What kind of world is this?
We are recording, and strangely enough, what? 2 night owls are watching us, or maybe they're day owls. This day got topsy-turvy upside down, so we were going to record this morning, and things happened.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Richard, I'm going to need your topsy-turvy clappy claps. And that's funny. You did topsy-turvy clappy claps.
That's what you asked for.
I know.
Ask and you shall receive.
This is what you can look for. Someone just left. They didn't like what we were saying.
Apparently not. Well, then.
All right.
Go find another live recording.
And then someone else just left.
And there we have it.
All right. I'm going to end recording.
Hey, look at those names to the left. They are part of the Skywalking Force, our Patreon.
Become a producer yourself and check out all the Disney Plus themed bonus content available depending on the level you subscribe.
Become a member of the elite Skywalking Force at skywalkingforce.com.